Hello and welcome to Lost Sydney Episode 2. I'm Ben Summers of Ben's History Videos, and let's begin. Today we will be looking at two houses with an interesting link to Australia's industrial heritage. Are you keen to know more? Please stay tuned. Stanmore is located in Sydney's inner west, running from Holt Street to Enmore Road. Cambridge Street is on Stanmore's southern side as seen here. It is the location of both houses discussed in this video. William H. Paling, pictured, was born in Woerden, the Netherlands on the 1st of September 1825. Born Willem Hendrik Paling, he was among Australia's first Dutch migrants. Paling was an accomplished composer and violinist, abilities which served him well in his new home. He landed in Melbourne on the sailing ship SS Clio on November the 16th, 1854. Paling then made his way to Sydney, where he opened the first W.H. Paling Music Warehouse at 83 Wynyard Square, seen in 1858. His business grew, as did his influence throughout the musical world in and out of Sydney, gaining notice as a music teacher, professor, performer, entrepreneur, and promoter. Among the pieces he composed was the Sydney Railway Waltz, written for the opening of the Sydney to Parramatta Railway on the 26th of September 1855. A link to a recording of this song can be found in the description beneath. He was also civic-minded, serving from 1876 to 1889 as an alderman on Petersham Council before becoming the municipality's third mayor from the 10th of February 1881 to the 15th of February 1882. A generous philanthropist, Paling donated his model farm called Grasmere, situated in Camden, to the Salvation Army in 1888, as well as £10,000 to the establishment of the Carrington Convalescent/Centennial Hospital, which operated out of his former farm. Other examples of his philanthropy included the donation of the clock tower for the original Petersham Town Hall, seen here, and a church organ to the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, pictured. Paling was married twice, though neither union produced any children. His first wife, Mary Ann Maney, whom he married in Norfolk in the United Kingdom during 1863, died on the 27th of September 1877. He later tied the knot with Anna Lake on October the 19th, 1878. She predeceased him during October of 1894. Paling died in his second home in Stanmore at the age of 69 on the 27th of August 1895, after a period of poor health resulting in a heart attack. He is buried in Waverley Cemetery. And the name of his first residence? Keep watching to hear the answer. Before moving into his second residence, Paling had another large house built on Cambridge Street, Stanmore, pictured. It was a Gothic-style single-storey house built in 1872. It was called The Lodge and features an expansive garden facing the street. It was sold in 1886 to Alexander Stewart, who served as Premier of New South Wales from 1883 to 1885. It was bought by the Salvation Army during 1900 for use as a rescue home for pregnant women and single mothers. The lodge was later repurposed as the Salvation Army Girls Training College, until 1988 and remains in use by this organisation as their leadership training college. It is the largest existing house in Stanmore. The black and white photo comes from the Salvation Army, whereas the coloured ones are my own. What names did Paling's second house have? The answer is about to be revealed. Paling's second house, Worden, named after his birthplace, sat closer to Stanmore Station and dated from 1879, though one source states it was built during the early 1870s. A typical two-storey Italian-style brick villa from the late Victorian era, it featured separate servants' quarters and stables for horses at the rear. It was while living in this house that Paling died in 1895, as mentioned above. The property was a large one which stretched from Cambridge Street to Cavendish Street and was bounded by nearby Merchant Street. The property was subdivided during September 1902, resulting in the appearance of 12 new buildings along the Cavendish Street boundary. The house and land were offered for sale as a single lot, and this lot is relevant to the end of our story. Other residents of Worden included Francis Crago, the owner of the Crago Flour Mill on Gladstone Street, Newtown, which stands today, and later City Solicitor John F. Rofe, who bought the house in 1903. Rofe's family were among the important residents of Petersham. His father, Albert Rofe, had served as an alderman and later mayor of Petersham Municipal Council. Much like Paling himself over 30 years before, John Rofe died in 1931 in the house at the age of 68. By the 1950s, Worden was owned by Montague Lee of the Lee family of Darrell Lee Chocolates. He lived there with his wife, Valerie Everett, and their children. Montague's father, Harry Lee, had started selling chocolates during 1917 from the rear of his shop on Manly Corso. During the Lees' ownership, the old house gained a new name, Montague Gardens, after Montague Lee. It will be referred to as such for the rest of the video. Many Sydney-siders remember the store on George and King Streets, which the company owned from 1957 to 2012. It later became a Telstra shop and is pictured here. By the 1960s, the house had been converted into a boarding house, requiring extensive alterations to the exterior, though original features such as the staircase, doors and windows were left intact. Trees were planted on the surrounding block, while a, quote, water fountain pond, unquote, and a, quote, sculptured garden, unquote, both pictured, were added. At some stage, Montague Gardens was owned by the Adult Deaf Society of New South Wales, though exactly when the society owned the property isn't known. Montague Gardens was acquired under a plan by the state government and demolished in 1979 to create the present-day park, at a time of growing concern over the lack of public green spaces. This plan was developed under the Department of Planning and Environment's program to create more public open spaces in the city's inner suburbs, work which was carried out in consultation with the affected councils. The park, seen here in these recent photos I took, is named Montague Gardens, as was the house in the later years of its life. These gates are substitutes for the originals, which were stolen. In a twist to this story, the gates were later discovered installed on the property of a bank manager who lived in Bowral in southern New South Wales. A determined, though unsuccessful, attempt was made at recovering these during the 1980s, with some Marrickville Council aldermen going as far as claiming the gates were council property. The stone pillars, and presumably the fence railings themselves, are original and show what a majestic dwelling Worden must have been. Thanks for watching this video, which I hope you found interesting and enjoyable. Episode 3 will be hopefully released soon, so please watch this space for further updates.